Welcome back, everybody. I am your host, Salvatore, and this is Bearing the Light. And today I want to ask an important question. Who is the goddess of our time? And, I like to ponder existential truths in my mind frequently. I always have, since I was a child, always hungry for deep truth. One of these existential questions has been this: who is the goddess of our time? It seems that since ancient times, from immemorial, the feminine principle of nature has always been worshipped, venerated, admired, and revered in some way. But is it the same for today? Is that true for today? Many answer no, and many probably have never even thought about it, but it's shaped the way we do things in everyday society today. With the rise of patriarchal society and religion and monotheism for over the past 2,000 years, the masculine principle seems to have been made supreme and superior to the feminine. Destroyed are the temples to Asherah, Isis, Hecate, but the houses of God the Father stand tall. But in terms of monotheism, which many people blame, is that really fully to blame for a shift in world consciousness? Or is there a deeper truth beyond the veil? Let's find out. I have to first point out, there is no right answer for this, so let's explore and start with a bit of history and artistic representation of cultural ideas of the feminine principle of reality. The earliest forms of goddess worship and veneration of the female principles of nature are global. The Venus of Willendorf is one example, dating to 25,000 to 30,000 years ago, and similar statues can be found throughout Europe, the Mediterranean, and the Middle East. Through time, ideas and cultures on a global scale have shifted gradually into what we have today. But where is the goddess exactly? But first, let us look at some current models for discussion. That is, the Virgin Mary, the Mary Magdalene, the Black Madonna, Babylon, and Pombagira. Let's take a look at Christianity first and the ideas surrounding Mary. Yes, Mary. Wait, which one? The Virgin Mother of Christ, or Mary Magdalene, the supposed prostitute, or the other Marys? For this video, I will focus on the first two mentioned. That is, Mary, Virgin Mother of Christ, and Mary Magdalene, the scarlet whore whom Jesus Christ expelled 7 demons. Controversy over the identity and truth of Mary Magdalene is too extensive for today's video, so I will cover her in another video. You may be asking at this point, what does a Christian character have to do with a goddess? Well, actually, a lot. Many believe that paganism and Christianity are totally separate, but they actually share a lot in common. Despite modern ideas of religion, magic, hermetic texts, and other things deemed occult, today actually coexisted with Christianity in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. If we look at ancient Egyptian statues of the goddess Isis, we find the mother and child motif, for example. She is holding the baby Horus, god of light and truth, and she sits upon her throne. There is an all too familiar motif to the Virgin Mary and Jesus in her lap. Isis is also depicted as a black goddess, represented by the black earth and fertility of the land of Egypt. This black representation of her also extended throughout the Roman Empire, as Isis was a well-venerated and revered and popular adopted goddess throughout the empire. Other prominent goddesses such as Demeter, Hecate, and Cybele were also well venerated during the legalization of Christianity by Emperor Augustus in 313 AD. These goddesses were also depicted black or dressed in black. After Christianization, many temples were converted to churches. The cathedral dedicated to the Madonna of Tindari is built on top of a temple to Demeter, and she is a black Madonna, as a matter of fact. As Andrew Harvey, author, religious scholar, and mystic, puts it, the Black Madonna is a transcendent Kali Mother, the black womb of light, out of which all the worlds are always arising and into which they fall. The presence behind all things, the darkness of love, and the loving unknowing into which the child of the mother goes when his or her illumination is perfect. Interesting. Many claim in Italy that these mysterious statues of the Black Mary came from the sea, another interesting parallel to Aphrodite being born from the sea. You will also notice esoteric symbolism in all paintings and statues of the Virgin Mary. That is, 12 stars around her head, she is on top of the world, crushing a snake, also atop a moon, and more. The book of Revelation provides this symbolism as well. In Revelations 12:1, a great and wondrous sign appeared in the heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Aleister Crowley, however, would reinterpret this in the early 20th century, but more on Babylon later. Mary, the Mother of Christ, is thus associated within Christian imagery, power over the earth, the moon, the serpent, the number 12, and the sun. In fact, she was also called the Empress of Hell in the Middle Ages. John Merck's 14th century Festial, a collection of Middle English sermons, includes a passage where Mary herself described her double roles as she sought to save a Christian possessed by the devil. I am God's mother, and I pray that my son gets this soul a place in heaven. I am also Empress of Hell and have power over all your enemies, and therefore I command you that he, the devil, keep this soul no longer, but go your way and let him, the soul, rest. Very interesting. Still, a virgin mother, she comes to us like Hera, mother goddess who would renew her virginity in the Kanatos, in the Argolid, which was a spring in Naplia, where Hera annually renewed her virginity. That's from Pausanias. Here we can already see many attributes of Mary, Mother of Christ, within many ancient goddesses. This image and personality of Mary is chaste, tolerant, warm, and gentle, and in some folklore, she weaves her way into stories where she takes on other attributes. Today, Italian people still dance to the beat of that very same drum of Cybele and sing very erotic folk songs at festivals of the Madonna, somehow linking Eros and Agape and Amor with one another in a spiritual embrace. Now let's turn to Mary Magdalene, Babylon, and Pombagira. Mary Magdalene and these goddesses are from living traditions in the modern world. Both Babylon and Pombagira also have a visual idea centered around the Scarlet Woman, witch, and other. They are all centered around a collective idea of the Dark Mother, the chthonic, and the wild. This nature is somewhat the reverse of the Virgin Mary and has created controversy to the point of socio-political backlash. You always know when something is powerful when people talk about it. All are similar with slightly different attributes and personalities. Mary Magdalene is venerated today in Christianity and is among practitioners of contemporary Christian-oriented traditions involving Gnosticism, magic, and more. She is, however, the result of a corruption of multiple Marys being amalgamated into one Mary Magdalene, which began when Pope Gregory I pronounced her as a sinful woman in the year 591 AD. However, more evidence has surfaced in biblical scholarship that this is not the fact, and as Elaine Pagels has noted, she may have even been wealthy and supported Christ. In fact, this would all the more add to the value of her as the other, as a woman, as someone closest to Christ. She is commonly depicted in scarlet red attire with attributes of a mirror, egg, and skull. These symbols all are connected to Babylon and Pombagira as well. Babylon, taking on more of the sexual and shameless aspects of the idea of the Scarlet Woman, is a goddess found within the magical system of Thelema. Founded by Aleister Crowley, she is taken from the Book of Revelation and from the work within the Enochian Magic by John Dee and Edward Kelly. In Aleister Crowley's view, Babylon is the goddess of the new age of humanity, and is a sign of the world apocalypse is among us. This is not an end of the world, but a shift in global consciousness. We can see this materializing on Earth within women's rights movements and how dynamic cultures have become between men and women within world culture changing. She is depicted nude or almost nude, with scarlet red attire, red hair, sometimes red nails and lips, associated with fire, death, and roses. Much of her symbolism also comes from the description in Revelations that Christians interpret as the Virgin Mary. I find it interesting also how Babylon is called Mother of Abomination, because as we see these power dynamics changing in the world, we also see countries that we might call either as progressive or behind the time. And so I think that has to also do with the dynamic shift, which is the manifestation of Babylon. She's sexually liberated, shameless, unafraid, and seductive. Now moving on to Pombagira of Brazil, we find a similar entity. Pombagira has native Brazilian, African, Christian, and European witchcraft influences, while Babylon has Christian, European witchcraft, and other pagan and philosophical influences, primarily the Greek, Egyptian, and West Asia. Pombagira is also not seen as a single entity, but instead she is legion. She is in essence partly extracted from the hierarchy of the infernal spirits from traditional European witchcraft within the Grand Grimoire and the True Grimoire. This spirit is known as Astaroth. Astaroth is part of the infernal triad in this system and made co-ruler with Lucifer and Beelzebub. This is evident in the Trinity in Brazilian, Quimbanda, as Eshu Lucifer, Pombagira, and Eshu Mor. These spirits are overseen by the Maioral, who is Saint Michael. And after reading Nicholaj De Matteos Frisvold's work and Stephen Skinner's work, if you want to learn more about that in depth, please read their books. They're phenomenal on that, on Quimbanda and Renaissance Grimoire magic. Pombagira is venerated by many epithets by her earthly manifestation. Like Babylon, she is venerated for her sexual liberation, freedom, shamelessness, and all of her wild nature. They are believed to possess worshippers as well. Pombagira is a legion of entities, more so. She's emphasized with that, and she can possess her followers. Everyone also has their own Pombagira and Eshu that is specific to them. I think that follows a little bit, it's kind of in the same path as the Holy Guardian Angel, I think, a little bit. All ultimately different, but there's the same premise happening there. In terms of Babylon, she takes on offices. It's not the same as Pombagira possessions, but it has a similarity, but it is ultimately different. So, in conclusion, who is the goddess of our time? We have looked at female divinities venerated in the Western current. Interestingly, many practitioners and researchers disagree whether to use the label goddess, archetype, or other titles, depending on the entity discussed today. And I've given a totally brief overview of the Virgin Mary, Mary Magdalene, Babylon, and Pombagira. in this. So I definitely, have not spoken to them in the fullest, but I just was giving a comparison in this video alone, briefly, and answering the question, who is the goddess of our time? To each their own viewpoint, but I will let you decide, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Do you consider the Virgin Mary, Mary Magdalene, Babylon, or Pombagera modern goddesses, archetypes, saints, or another title? And if you want me to expand on any of these goddesses in a future video, please let me know in the comments. I can dedicate probably a good hour or more to each one of them. But let me know if you'd like to have me make a video on any of them in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on this video and why, and remember to hit that like button and follow for more free content.